Hey everybody, we are back at Whitefish Point and we're going to continue the conversation about the Edmund Fitzgerald. And for those of you who don't know, next year is the 50th anniversary of the Edmund Fitzgerald, and we are doing a 411-mile relay swim from the Edmund Fitzgerald from here at Whitefish Point to Detroit, Michigan. There's going to be 4 swimmers per 17 stages of the relay, and we're going to hand it off one by one, I think every 30 minutes. And we are going to carry on the iron ore from Superior, Wisconsin, where the Edmund Fitzgerald took on its last load, and we're going to carry it to Detroit to hand it off to the mayor in Detroit, Michigan, to symbolically carry on the Edmund Fitzgerald's legacy. So we are here with Corey Atkins, who is the Contact Communications Director.
Yes.
There you go.
How you doing, Brandon?
And we're going to talk about the Edmund Fitzgerald, and he's going to tell us some stories and what happened and what might have happened and kind of fill us in.
Well, it left November 9th from Superior, Wisconsin, and then the weather was like today. It was beautiful. There was no concern whatsoever, but as the day progressed on November 10th, the weather got worse and worse and worse. There was the wreck, or not the wreck, the ship, the Arthur M. Anderson, who was behind it, and could kind of tell that they were in a little bit of trouble. And one of the, to make a very long story short, one of the last communications between the Anderson and the Fitzgerald was, "How are you making out?" And they said, "I am holding my own. I'm holding my own." And at around 7:10, it just disappeared off the radar and sank right at around 7:10 on November 10th, 1975. And it's it was very, very, very sad. But we're part of our mission is to remember those men and some of the other not survivors, but victims too. That's what we do here.
Right.
So, the Fitzgerald is sitting at around 530 feet of water, and it's just it's sad to think that nobody will ever know what happened to the Fitzgerald.
Right.
Nobody will ever know. You can guess all you want. It's all conjecture. Nobody will ever know but the 29 men and God.
That's saying a lot. For as much science as we have, we have commercial divers like myself that can go down with the camera. We have ROVs that can go down with the camera. We have 1 atmosphere suits that can go down with the camera and investigate all we want, but no one will ever know what happened.
No.
And how big is the Edmund Fitzgerald?
729 feet long, and when they found it in 1976, shortly after the accident, they didn't really know what was down there at that point, but they knew where it was. And after that, when we went down in 1989, 1994, 1995, the bow is just wrecked. It's just, you can tell that it hit bottom pretty hard.
Wow.
And you can also, there's 2 cabins, 2 or 3 hatchways that are just disappeared. We don't know where they're at. And then the back, the whole ship split, and the stern is lying upside down. So it hit the bottom very hard, but we'll never know what happened to it.
So it's down there in 2 pieces. It broke right in half, right?
Yeah.
Wow. And it was full. It had a full load from Superior, Wisconsin of iron ore. Right?
Yeah.
How much do you think it weighed? A ship that big, full of iron ore.
Yeah, and a lot of that's part of the issue with a lot of ships that went down. Maybe they shouldn't have been that way down. I don't know how much it weighed. And maybe they shouldn't have been that way down. Like the Bradley, they were on their last voyage in 1958 when they went down just kind of by Beaver Island, and 33 people passed on that. And and that was going to be its last trip before it got dry docked and fixed. So, I don't know what the condition of the Fitzgerald was at that point, but I don't know. It was full.
And the Edmund Fitzgerald, as much as I can read about it, and a lot of people said, like in the books, that it was a lot. I don't want to compare it to the Titanic because they're two completely different ships. But they say that the Edmund Fitzgerald was built like a tank, like built like the Titanic. Like in theory, it should not have sank. Like it was a huge vessel built to carry iron ore. It was engineered to do what it did, to go through the Great Lakes, in the wintertime through these big storms, and it still failed.
Yeah, there was a documentary out there from National Geographic that said it was a vessel made of steel to carry steel. So that I always liked that line. And but yeah, I mean, when you get out there in 35-foot waves and your ship gets hurt somehow, did it hit bottom at Caribou Shoal? What happened? Did it break? Did the hull break? We don't know.
Yeah.
How will you ever know? So it's it's something people can guess on. It's something people will argue for until time ends.
Right.
And so the fact is nobody will ever know. Unless we have a time machine.
Right. Yeah. So you have been in contact. We talked earlier that for the swim, we're trying to get it cleared, and I was unaware of this until today. But the Edmund Fitzgerald is actually right on the other side of the Canadian line.
Yeah.
And the people, you and Jim, are trying to get it clear so we could actually start on top of the Edmund Fitzgerald to start its voyage. Why is that important?
Well, to start on top of it, or well, because it's a solemn site, and we are going to have family members out there with us. So, for them to go out there maybe one last time and visit their loved ones, that's important. And we have had multiple family members that are interested in going out and being a part of this, and we did get permission for them to even do this swim before we gave Jim a yes part of it, because it's important for them to make sure this is not a mockery,
right,
or anything. So it was important for us to have a talk with some of the family members, and they were all in unison. The people that were there, the family members that were there. So, and then for the Canadian Ministry, they've outlawed that site for people to even stop above it. So you have to, if you're going above it, you got to be over. And to get permission from them is going to be very special. It's going to be very important for this whole thing to happen. But if for some reason they do deny us, we'll probably just start from here at Whitefish Point. Right. So, but I don't think they're going to deny us. But I guess we'll find out.
So, for those that don't know, the Canadian Ministry made the Shipwreck a memorial.
It's a grave site. Yeah.
And the rules are you're not allowed to park on top of it, you're not allowed to dive it, you're not allowed to swim around it. Like it's strict. There's strict rules on it. If there's somebody out there parked on it or diving on it, what can happen?
Well, they can get fined by the Canadian government. It is 17 miles from here, so there have been people that went out there and illegally dove it. It's not like they have it monitored 24/7, but I think people need to respect that site. And if we do get permission from them, if we don't get permission from them, we won't do it.
Right.
So if we do, it will be a very special place to start the swim.
Right, because the swim is to symbolically carry on its load from where the Edmund Fitzgerald sank to Detroit, Michigan. And even for me being a part of the swim, if I start at Whitefish Point, it's not going to symbolically mean as much if we don't start right where the Edmund, to carry on the legacy of the 29 sailors that lost their lives. Like that's important that we do start on top of that.
Yeah, it is, and but in the end, we don't have control over that. Right. So if we can't, we can't. If we can, we will. And I think one of the neatest parts about the swim too is when we arrive in Detroit, and then all the swimmers are going to walk down to the Mariners Church and ring that bell 29 times, like Reverend Ingalls did in 1975. So that's already signed, sealed, and delivered. So that is going to happen.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And the bell's here in the museum, and you guys are going to ship it down there to do it?
No, the bell at the church.
Oh, the bell at the church.
So whenever a wreck went down, Reverend Ingalls would get out the crew manifest and see how many people were aboard and ring the bell every single time a ship went down. So he knew there was 29 men on the Fitzgerald, and so he went out that night when he found out about the tragedy. He rang the bell 29 times.
I didn't know that. Okay. See, for some reason I was thinking it was actually the Edmund Fitzgerald bell.
No.
And okay.
That bell's never going out of a museum.
Right. That's
too
what I was
yeah.
wondering. Like, it's kind of dangerous to take that all the way down.
Yeah.
So about the swim, like you've been in contact with the families, and you said that you got it okayed and everything. What does it mean for the families for us to do this voyage, to do this swim?
Well, I think you'd have to ask them, but I can also imagine that they're honored. They're honored because as long as people are doing it for the right reasons, to honor their lost ones, their loved ones, I'm sure they're pretty honored that this is happening. But you have to go singly and ask them all. Like I don't want to speak for them, but we're honored that you guys are donating a lot of the money to keep this lighthouse going and operational.
Yeah, so if you're just now watching this video, if you go back to, we actually just completed one video talking about the Whitefish Point and the fundraiser that we're raising money for and talking about it. So if you didn't get to see that video, why don't you just jump back and check that video out, and it can all kind of make sense. But thank you for answering all my questions.
Oh, no problem.
It's really beautiful up here, and I really don't want to leave because it's nice. And I don't know, it's really beautiful up here.
Walk out on the beach, and you can look over Lake Superior and just think and ponder and wonder what happened, and all the other events out there. There's so many unanswered questions, but as part of our mission is to answer as many as we can. But as far as the Fitzgerald, nobody will ever know what happened to it.
Actually, I do want to touch on one more thing. You said that you put together a documentary on the Edmund Fitzgerald, or there is a documentary on the Edmund Fitzgerald?
Yeah, I've done a few of them, but the one from 1995, before I was involved in the Shipwreck Museum, was done by National Geographic, and Emery Christoph, who's a world-renowned photographer. So that's the one that plays in our video theater.
Okay.
And yeah, if you're walking around later today, you'll see that.
Where can people, if someone wants to watch and look at the documentary, where's a good place for them to go? Is it on YouTube or National Geographic?
I'm sure it's there. Or they can we sell DVDs.
Okay.
Or come to Whitefish Point.
Come to Whitefish Point and check out the movie. Like this place is well worth it.
Do it where everything happened. So yeah.
All right. Well, thank you everybody for watching my little videos. So you are wearing a sweatshirt with the Edmund Fitzgerald on there. Is that the Edmund or just one of the ships?
It is the shipwrecks. It's the Great Lake shipwrecks, and I do believe that this one is the Edmund Fitzgerald.
Yeah.
They're listed on here, along here. All the smaller ones that went down. This is the most popular.
Right.
Therefore, it would be the headliner.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you
say on the back?
Has all the locations of the ships.
name.
Oh, I got you, and it's all numbered.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We were on our way to northern Michigan to take her son to school 3 years ago today. Today. And as we were crossing the Mackinac Bridge, I was listening to a rock station, and as I got to the top of the bridge, I mean, I couldn't have been any higher. It's right where the cables meet the road. The Edmund Fitzgerald song came on by Gordon Lightfoot, so I was, as soon as we got back with her, I was like, "Did you guys listen to that station?" And they hadn't, but it was a very cool story, and I tell it whenever I think about it when I cross the bridge or hear the song. So I just told that story this weekend too with some buddies I was hanging out with when the song came on here.
Yeah.
I told them about crossing the bridge, so we love it up here, and we come up as much as we can.
Was today the first time you've actually been to this park?
It is the first time we've been here.
So now that you've listened to the song and you're here, and the Edmund Fitzgerald is right there,
Right.
What do you think?
I think it's cool. I think, you know, as the song says, they were 15 miles from Lincoln the Bay, and yeah, it's a powerful lake. So it's, yeah. And I was in the Coast Guard too, so it's kind of cool.
Oh, you were?
Stations, yeah.
Yeah.
I was in Buffalo, so I was on Lake Erie.
Oh, wow.
Yep. So yeah, it's cool, and we watched a ship go through the locks today.
Yeah,
A
first time
good-sized ship.
either of us.
First
Well,
time.
as adults.
Yes, went through the Sioux Lock, so that was cool too.
That's cool.
It's been a good trip.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much.
It's important for this place to continue to keep them people alive and living.
Right.
There's a lot of museums that do it, but we do it a different way. I think ours hits home a little personal because most of us have been born and raised here. Our families live up in Fitzgerald. My dad lived through the storm of it, and it hits a little close to home when you hear the song that we grew up with. And when we're out, I used to live with my father. He played the Edmund Fitzgerald song by Gordon Lightfoot, and we'd sit out, cut our wood, and we'd sit, have our lunch, and we'd listen to the song. I mean, this museum is symbolic of that, keeping the memory alive. There were men just like wrestling, they put their hands on that and throw it away. They didn't think nothing was going to happen, and it did. It just shows you that they were human, just like us, and they deserve to be remembered.
The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down at the big lake they call Gitchagumi. The lake, it is said, never gives up her dead when the skies of November turn gloomy. With a load of iron ore, 26,000 tons more than the Edmund Fitzgerald weighed empty. That good ship and true was a bone to be chewed when the gales of November came early. The ship was the pride of the American side, coming back from some mill in Wisconsin. As the big freighters go, it was bigger than most, with a crew and good captain well seasoned, concluding some terms with a couple of steel firms when they left fully loaded for Cleveland. Then later that night when the ship's bell rang, could it be the north wind they'd been feeling? The wind in the wires made a tattletale sound, and the wave broke over the railing. And every man knew, as the captain did too, 'twas the witch of November come stealing. The dawn came late and the breakfast had to wait when the gales of November came slashing. When afternoon came, it was freezing rain in the face of a hurricane west wind. then came the old cook, came on deck saying, fellas, it's too rough to feed you. At 7 p.m. a main hatchway caved in. He said, fellas, it's been good to know ya. The captain wired in, he had water coming in, and the good ship and crew was in peril. Later that night when his lights went out of sight, came the wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald. Does anyone know where the love of God goes when the waves turn the minutes to hours? The searchers all say they'd have made Whitefish Bay if they'd put 15 more miles behind her. They might have split up or they might have capsized. They may have broke deep and took water. And all that remains is the faces and the names of the wives and the sons and the daughters. Lake Huron rolls, Superior sings in the rooms of her ice water mansion. Old Michigan steams like a young man's dreams. The islands and bays are for sportsmen. And farther below, Lake Ontario takes in what Lake Erie can send her. And the iron boats go, as the mariners all know, with the gales of November remembered. In a musty old hall in Detroit, they prayed in the maritime sailors' cathedral. The church bell chimed till it rang 29 times for each man on the Edmund Fitzgerald. The legend lives on from the Chippewa on down of the big lake they call Gitchagumi. Superior, they said, never gives up her dead when the gales of November come early.